his life hunting the enemy. His task is now mine.
Morfydd, how are you doing today?
Not bad, thank you. How are you?
I'm really good. Such a pleasure to talk to you. So, tough question. Who was your favorite character from the Lord of the Rings movies?
Aragorn had a profound effect on me growing up, because my first man crush. And I used to also play him on the PlayStation games. So I kind of wanted to be Arwen and wanted to be Aragorn all at once. But also I think I fell in love with different characters at different times. And the Hobbits have a very special place in my heart.
Gimli?
So funny, so great.
I love Gandalf. I just, wise, but I also love Frodo. I'm so confused.
To be honest, I loved Saruman.
Ooh, I was actually just thinking that.
The way that actor, I forget the name of the actor.
Christopher Lee.
Yes, it was fantastic. I mean, his physicality too, the way that he would put his hand up, and it was always kind of twisted, you know, the way he with the staff. And, Saruman.
Boromir.
Oh,
Aragorn. Samwise.
In the books, I actually really liked Tom Bombadil. I found him really fascinating. In the films, I had a crush on Legolas. But I love the Ents. Actually, I love the Ents in all the iterations.
I was excited to see Ents appearing in one of the trailers.
Me too. I was really so excited. Seeing it,
just hold on a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really nice.
I love Frodo just because I just found that sort of archetype of such a hopeful, bright task with sort of the fate of the world in his hands, and I found that absolutely compelling and very moving.
There's been so much talk about the budget on this, and having watched the first two episodes, I was blown away by the sense of scale and scope and just the beauty and down to the minute details. But for you, what was the first kind of I guess overwhelming sense where you were like, oh wow, this is a lavish, huge production? What was the first sense where you're like, yes, I can see where all that money is?
Well, I was a fan of the books and a fan of the films, and so I think I really felt, and we all knew that kind of the scale had to be huge because that's what we associate with Middle-earth. But still I wasn't prepared kind of for how it felt to actually be on sets that kind of could live up to Middle-earth. I think one of the things where I felt the budget was just the amount of people that were involved. And I had this first scene is me in the snow with Fabian McCallum, in the first episode, and they just filled a whole studio with snow, but they actually weren't using green screen. I don't know what other way they did it, but it meant that you could see beyond the set. No, there was no kind of hiding behind anything, so I could just see hundreds of members of crew, and that's when I really felt like I was in something huge, because it was a village working on it. And I get asked a lot about what it was like to have secrets, but it was a secret held by 2,000 people. So people to talk to.
In general, I think that everything was like that. Every costume, everything was the detail. It was made almost like in a functional sense. It wasn't like you saw the behind of the thing. There were layers upon layers upon layers of things that were carefully crafted with all of their mythology and expertise. And if you had a leather boot, it was a leather artist who made it, and the blacksmiths, and everything was made by experts, like unique experts. And the sets were the same way. Everything was built to an inch of prowess. So
I think they built the village in a way that we could literally shoot anywhere in the village. Just if you saw the back of that house, it didn't matter because it still looked real. They really put, and every single detail was just so closely watched.
And there was a scene where Ismael and I had to I should know how to say your name properly, but 3 years later got on a helicopter to go to the top of a mountain that would have taken 4 days to hike up. And when we got there, it was like, you look and it's like you're in the middle of the clouds, and it's like, welcome to Tolkien's world, welcome to Middle Earth. It just felt like so grand and epic on many levels. And I think all of us at one point, did you shed tears maybe?
I've shed tears.
I shed tears.
Often.
Yeah.
I think for me, it was clear from day one. I live in Auckland, so I know the studios who were shooting in pretty well. So to turn up and to see blocks upon blocks of Numenor built from, out of nowhere, but with this incredibly detailed history built into the design. Different quarters, you could tell which centuries they were built in by the style of the architecture. There was a bird poop expert who was, detailing. There was graffiti, there was incense burning in the alleyways. They'd gone all out to make this incredibly immersive, and you just got to surrender to it. So yeah, from the very first moment, I knew I was in something pretty special.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. Being a Numenorian, couldn't put it better myself.
And when you walk onto set, you're just transported there instantly.
Yeah,
you leave nothing to the imagination as an actor. You were literally there. Yeah. So that was very helpful, and what a privilege and an honor to be part of a show of that scale.
I mean, for me, it was both the epic and the minutiae and specificity of the small. So you had these. We were lucky enough to film a lot on location, and so you have these spectacular areas of New Zealand, which have been, added to with the lighting and the smoke and the, wind machines and all these amazing technologies. So you have that epic scale there where you're just, this is like nothing I've ever been on before. But then you've got you start drilling down, and you start working with an individual, and you're responding to them as a person, and then you look at their costume and you're like, hold on, there's that thing that I never spotted before, and then but within that thing there's another thing, and you realize that everything has meaning.
It was absolutely in the detail. I agree that, and particularly I watched the Greens people who would set dressing, and they would be like meticulously, they'd be carrying leaves and branches and all sorts of stuff, but then they'd be meticulously moving a leaf and making sure it sat in the right place to create a hole. Like it was the level of specificity.
And I think it's interesting you say, because I do think there's some obvious ones. They built Numenor, and it was unprecedented and one of the most extraordinary sets. I think it was the largest set in the Southern Hemisphere at the time, and the details of that. But no, having done this a while now, I know that in our world, being in location, the expense and art of making of fitting a world, an imagined world into a real location, such that you can shoot in any direction and you won't be able to tell the difference between a fake tree and a real tree. And that creek actually looks like it's born of this land.
Again, having just seen the first two episodes, it does, it sets the chessboard out nicely for what is to come. I think there's a lot of fantastic teases with every character. But for your particular character's storyline going forward, just in this season, is there a particular, I guess, highlight or episode or scene where the fans are going to lose it? They're going to be like, this is what I'm here for.
I find it difficult to think about that with my own character. Bit frightening. But I get to do so many exciting things as an actress playing Galadriel, because she is involved in lots of action and like big set pieces. So I would say there is some very there's quite epic things coming up, which as an actress playing them felt epic because lots of it was practical. Also, in every world, there is just like really cool things. Again, I've said I had a soft spot for the hobbits, and the Harfoots in this I just adore. And they also have kind of massive stuff happening to them. Yeah, can't talk too much.
No. Listen, I get it.
There's so many.
We've got some big stuff.
Yeah.
Together.
Yeah.
The three of us.
Yeah.
It's hard to. I mean, yes. The answer is yes. It's hard to tell you what exactly, because then
spoiling. Yeah.
I'll get into the spoilers. But I think it's you're onto something in terms of like the energy and the momentum that you've seen from our three characters and how it's building. Yeah, man.
The only tease that I could give you is there's always a group of characters or a few characters that sort of discover the thing that will be revealed throughout the season, and that would be us.
Okay. That's a fantastic tease. I appreciate that.
There might be a few. I'm not gonna. I want to preserve the mystery. I want people to go on this journey.
We've done so well with preserving the mystery. We can't give in 3 days before it's out. I think there's something in the show for every fan of Lord of the Rings. You know, I think what I loved about the films myself was there were like elements that I would just be attracted to and completely fanboy over. And I think in the same way our show has that. You know, if there's the Hobbit world, and every world is so rich and diverse and different that you get a little flavor from everything that just builds the tapestry of the world that you know everyone loves so dearly.
And just one last question, if that's okay. For you, as you mentioned, like your character, she gets into the thick of it with a lot of action. Like there's even stuff in the second episode that I wasn't expecting of a scale so soon, I guess. Was there one particular stunt or set piece in it where you're like, that was fun, but also I'm so happy I trained into Oblivion to make sure everything's cool? Yeah,
I think that's what I like about Galadriel, that once an elf sets her mind to something, it's quite terrifying because she will go in full throttle. The water stuff was something I'd always found quite frightening. I never ever wanted to scuba dive. I've always found that terrifying. But I learned scuba dive on this, and actually for one of the set pieces, I was tied under. This is a spoiler, but this won't. Anyway, I was tied underwater, and just kind of on a. Can't remember the name of this.
Like just a breather.
A breather for an hour and a half. Without coming up, and so that was something I didn't expect to be able to do, and was scared, but actually found it very zen. Felt like I was just floating through space.
No.
Yeah, but that was really cool. Something I never thought I'd be able to do.
I think the three of us actually, because we're in a vulnerable space in terms of the storyline, we go through a lot. So that in film, and the film language means action. So the three of us had quite plenty of stunt training to do. My character,
and
running and jumping and being thrown through things, and because I was there. So there was a lot of that training. I mean, I do a lot of my own stunts. I was the opposite. I was like, I don't want a stunt double, and my stunt doubles when they worked were like, I can't be a stunt double anymore. So I did a lot of my stuff, but the three of us have like very exciting sequences. Again, it's hard to tell you exactly what, because it goes into plot and scenes. Yeah.
I just remember texting Ismael at the end of like a work day and going, let's have dinner. And he's like, I'm comatose because I've like gone through so much grueling physical work. But yeah, we have our fair share too, but this guy, whoa.
I had to learn how to ride a horse, which was something I've never done before, but something that I grew to love. And that was very difficult, riding into around. I can't get anything away.
I will say there was one day when the DP Aaron asked if I could do my action left-handed so I could hold a light source with my right, and I was like, oh, that's really gonna that actually helps with the story because he's out of his element, but at the same time I would like to look cool doing this. So I'll do it, but I have reservations. And when I saw it, I was like, that is better, but I don't look cool.
You have fought long enough, Galadriel. Put up your sword.
Without it, what am I to be?